Our next interview in our History of Sabre Yacht series is with Nancy Basselet, our Chief Financial Officer. Nancy, when did you join Sabre? How long have you been with the company?
I joined Sabre in 1977, so that's 42 years ago. I had a day off and Sabre was open that day. I came in and applied for a job, filled out an application, interviewed with Roger Houston, and I guess he liked what he saw and called me back that afternoon and offered me a job. Not the job I was looking for, but it was a job in purchasing. He I guess he was impressed with my mechanical ability. Just I work on cars with my dad, and he was impressed with that, and thought I would be good in purchasing. When I started, we were building the 28 and the 30, and I didn't know that much about boats, but working with the engineers that we had at the time, I was able to learn a lot about the parts and the pieces that we buy, and how they all get put together and how it works. And the computer, we didn't have computers at the time, so the purchasing was all done manually. In 1981, the IBM introduced a PC, and Roger came to me and said, we need to make a decision how we're going to use these new computers, and should we go with Apple or should we go with IBM PCs? And so we decided to go with the PCs for business, and we still had a couple Apples for graphics and advertising, that type of thing. And one of the first things we did on the new computer was a spreadsheet. We had a person who worked here who kept track of all our labor and did our payroll, and she would create a big spreadsheet on a piece of paper with all the names of the employees at the top and all the jobs that they were working on in the shop. And she'd have to plug in the number of hours each person worked at each department, and she had to add them across and add them down and make sure they totaled. And that's how we kept track of how much work was done in the shop. And it was the first thing we put on a spreadsheet, and it was such a time saver. It was great.
Sabre has grown, obviously, very considerably in the last 42 years. What do you consider to be the most significant changes then to now?
Well, the growth, the size of the company. When I started, there were 40 to 50 people working here. Now, with the adding Rockland to the company, we have 350 employees. So that's been a big change. The building, we started with a small building. We've had a number of additions to it. We've added this building down the road and Rockland. So just that type of growth.
As we approach our 50th anniversary and our 2020 rendezvous, having been around for the early iterations of our rendezvous and regattas, what were those events like?
Well, the very first regatta that we did was in Newport, Rhode Island. I can't remember how many boats there were, but we probably had about 50 or 60 boats coming, and we actually held races. So I got roped into helping with the race results. I had never done it before, and no one else had either. So it was a challenge, but it was interesting. We got it done and got it done in time for the banquet and the awards ceremony, and everyone had a great time. Well, I think one of my favorite memories of working at Sabre was in the early days when we did do sailboats. We had Thursday night races out in Portland Harbor, and so every Thursday night we get a crew together and race, and it was just fun being out on the product, learning how it works, and trying to improve our performance from week to week. We did a couple overnight races, which were fun too. It was interesting, challenging, and I really enjoyed it.